We'll probably get started now. I'm sure some people are still joining, but we want to move quickly. And the whole idea is to kind of master Hubstaff in 30 minutes. So we'll move fast, but we'll also stick around towards the end to answer some more questions. So add your questions as we go into the Q&A, and then we'll answer them at two different times during the presentation, one in the middle, one in the end, and then we'll stick around and we'll make sure everyone's questions get answered. So my name's Aubrey. I'm the product marketing manager at Hubstaff, and I'm just going to kind of be keeping things running today. So, along with Cody, he's our chief product officer, he's going to be answering the Q&A questions. So, making sure they get answered as they come in, and then selecting a couple to be answered during our official Q&A. And then we have our two presenters, Jeff and Gabe. And Jeff is our senior product manager here at Hubstaff. He's going to be talking about Hubstaff Insights, smart notifications, and then Gabe is a customer success manager here at Hubstaff. And he's going to be talking about a lot of reporting, but also a lot of tips and tricks for everyone, ways to kind of use Hubstaff the best that you can. And he talks to customers every day, so he really has a huge wealth of knowledge. And then he's also going to give you a sneak peek into some new features. So ask questions as we go in the Q&A, and then we'll also be sending out some polls. So answer those, and then we'll show you the answers as we go. But I will let you take it away, Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you, Aubrey. Cody, can you just turn on sharing as well so I can share my screen?
Yes, I can.
Cool. So it's great to see everyone. My name is Jeff Hurd. As Aubrey mentioned, I'm a senior product manager at Hubstaff, leading several of our features, including Hubstaff Insights. And I'm very excited to go through two of my absolute favorite features within Hubstaff, unusual activity and smart notifications. And you should see a poll just as I get started. Just take a moment to answer and we'll loop back the results afterwards. Cool. So I'm going to begin with a little scenario as an example of how unusual activity works within a typical organization. I have 15 members in this organization that track their time 5 days a week using Hubstaff. I've been reviewing the screenshot page once a week to look for odd behavior. I also review daily activity and core work percentage for each member using Hubstaff Reports. It works pretty well, but the problem is it's really time consuming. It takes me at least 2 to 4 hours a week to review the time tracking data and screenshots. So I recently discovered the Insights add-on, which includes both unusual activity and smart notifications. And I'm hopeful I can set up alerts to be more proactive instead of reactive every single week. And I want Hubstaff to highlight problem areas for me to review instead of me going to look for the needle in the haystack. So I'm going to go up to Insights here on the highlights. And right away, I see at the top, Anne has unusual activity. And so let me start with a tip that some people miss. And this date range at the top is the date range of the unusual activity that you're looking at. So I'm actually going to go from this week, because this week's it's only Tuesday. I'm going to move to the last 7 days instead. And now I see a wider pool of unusual activity. I can actually see 3 people have instances. And today, we have 3 different types of unusual activity metrics that we look for and automatically log right within Insights. So they are unusually high activity, excuse me. This is very high activity that's been going on for more than 30 minutes. And this means that the keyboard and or the mouse barely stopped moving for the entire 30 minutes or more. Low single input. This is keyboard or mouse activity. So this is more than 50 minutes of little to no mouse or keyboard activity. And then, and for example, let's say I only use the mouse for an hour and I never use the keyboard. So this would create an unusual activity instance for that. And last, suspicious application detection. We actually check for several hundred applications that we know are capable of creating fake activity. So if Hubstaff detects any of these applications running on the machine, it'll log the name of the application, the duration, the member within the unusual activity tab here, and then also send an email immediately to owners and managers with the details. And this is all included with the Hubstaff Insights add-on. And we're actually going to be adding new types of unusual activity now that are in progress. And all that will be in the in here by the end of the year. And I just want to add that I'll be giving a few other sneak peeks here today as we go through. So let's actually look at this unusual activity, right? So we see Anne has 10 instances, which seems like a lot for this short of a date range. So I click on Anne, and then I can kind of see the date and time of each instance. And again, I'll click through. And if I have access to screenshots, I can see all the screenshots from this time period. And if I click in, I can actually see all the screenshots full screen from each instance. And then you can see a little bit of a breakdown here. The total activity, if I look at this one on the left to start with, the total activity here is 99%, which is exceedingly rare for normal activity, right? So this means that for the entire range from 9 a.m. till almost 11, so almost 2 hours, they were only not moving a mouse or keyboard for 1% of that time, which I've actually tried to do this myself, and I couldn't even do it if I tried. So it's a tough thing. And again, we're not necessarily showing a cheating system here, but we're showing things that are very unusual and outside of the range of normal data. The activity breakdown here is a ratio, right? So this doesn't mean that they're using the keyboard for 95% of potentially the whole area, for instance. This is a ratio of keyboard to mouse movement. So they were using, of the time that they were moving, 95% of it was keyboard, 5% of it was mouse. So if you know, for example, that this person was clicking on things or should be clicking on things, but actually they were just typing the whole time, again, that's for you to decide and for you to look into if it's potentially unusual. Another thing that we added in more recently is this view full day icon. And if you click through, it will take you directly to this member screenshot page and the exact date that's in question, and you can see more details. And this is where you can get a much better picture of the full what's going on, right? So you can see, for example, this hour was just almost nonstop movement, right? 99, 99, 99% movement, and then you could see the screenshots if you have access to those. So again, this is where you can get do a little bit more investigation and get that full picture of what might be going on. Two other things that I want to point out. One is we send a weekly insights email. So what if I forget to check unusual activity in here, for example, or if I don't want to log into Hubstaff every week, we'll send a high-level detail of the unusual activity directly to owners and managers every single week through email, just so that you're aware of how much and what kinds of unusual activity were detected the previous week. A few other things that are coming soon that I'm super excited about. You're going to be able to export the data via CSV or PDF for individual members or for the whole group to get the whole export of the unusual activity for whatever date range you'd like. We're going to have an updated UI that'll make it much easier to read each instance and the durations of each instance and daily durations, for example. And we're also adding what we're calling a confidence score, which is going to help highlight kind of where to begin, right? If you have a lot of unusual activity, it might kind of seem all the same on the surface, but we're going to highlight those things that are the most unusual, right, first for you to review. So that's unusual activity. Next, I'm going to move over to my second favorite, or maybe it's my first, but maybe they're tied. Smart notifications. So smart notifications are alerts that monitor for specific metrics or actions to occur. For example, so activity level might be reaching a certain level or falling below a certain level. And they're really flexible and customizable. So if I go over and click new notification, I'll create a custom notification to start. You can go through and see all the different metrics that we allow you to track time on. And there's quite a few here, and you can go through and take the time to create your own. But we also have all these templates that you can go through and just start from. So you don't have to use exactly what it's set to, but it will just let you create a really quick smart notification. So I'm going to go down and say members using AI websites because it's 2024 and AI has to be everywhere, right? So we'll click add, and I right away can go through websites and see we've added all these AI websites for you. If you want to go through and add another one, maybe it's awesomewebinar.com, you can go ahead and add it. And even if you've never visited that on your through your site, you can add that and it'll be saved as one of those websites. You can also go through and change if you want it to be above or below a certain threshold. For example, maybe it's okay if they use these websites for a certain amount of time. And then you can also change the frequency, which is an important indicator. So you want to be able to say, I'm going to look for this every hour, or let me know every hour if someone goes over a certain threshold. I want to know every day, every week, or every month. And the nice thing about maybe daily, weekly, or monthly is that you don't have to necessarily be spammed with this or notified every day or even every hour. But you can get a report at the end of a week and just show, here's a list of everyone who didn't maybe view these websites that they're supposed to be or applications, or they did. So you can set that however you like. The monitor member is also completely customizable. So you can go ahead and say all members, or you can go one by one. Maybe you want to just create a separate one for each team. So I can just say, hey, let's just check on the product team for this one and just send this one to me, or maybe just send it to the managers or team lead. So here you can send it to separate roles, members, or job types. And then at the bottom, I want to call out one other really important thing, where you want it to be delivered. So by default, we'll add these in Insights, and I'll show you what they look like, what the results of Smart Notification look like in just a second. You can also tell it to send it through email. So you get an email. Everyone that's set to send notification to will get this email. And you can also send it through Slack, which I actually have set up on my account to whoever I'm monitoring on my team. It'll send me a message immediately in Slack, which is really cool and kind of gets my attention, or I can save it for later that way. So I highly recommend if you have a Slack integration or you want to turn it on, go ahead and do that. And then you can send all your smart notifications through Slack. So you'll see all the created smart notifications down here. And then I'll just go back to performance. And down here, you can see what it looks like when there is smart notification results. It's right underneath where we talked about the unusual activity widget. You can see all the folks who triggered this notification that you created. For example, I created one for members not using the required applications. And you can see how long they did use it. And for example, this one is set to 30 minutes per day, and these folks didn't use it that day for 30 minutes. So that is everything I wanted to go through. I hope this was really helpful, and I'll pass it back to you, Aubrey.
Yeah, that was really helpful. I think it's really important considering that 62% of customers using Hubstaff had unusual activity detected. So this is going to be huge, being able to set up smart notifications and easily get those, especially right into your Slack inbox. We can do a couple of things really quick. So number one, we can go over the poll results really quickly. And then Cody, if you want to pick a few of those Q&A questions to answer too.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Jeff. That was great. I think it's interesting too. So yeah, 62% have some sort of unusual activity. The poll you guys can see now, a lot of people, it's just a concern, right? There's this freedom of working remotely, and sometimes people take advantage of it. So it's definitely something that a lot of people are wondering. Yeah, are they trying to cheat the system? Are they working when they're supposed to? All really common problems. So interesting to see some of the questions that came in. There was a few that were pretty common, and this one I thought was actually interesting too. So Jeff, you mentioned 99% activity is almost impossible. Does that mean the person might be using an app or tool to manipulate Hubstaff data?
Yeah, so basically we aren't going to give you the conclusion, right, or the answer to are they cheating. We're going to leave that to you, but we will give you ranges and things that are extremely hard to do. And 99% for an hour, for example, is one of those things that we just don't see, right? We have a lot of data across all of our organizations, and we just don't see that often. It's an extremely rare event. So that's why we're telling you, hey, this was really rare. You should probably go check it out. And yes, absolutely. That would be what we would maybe recommend is it might be an app that is creating that type of unusual fake activity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nice. Okay. One of the other ones that was good was also the mouse and keyboard activity. So a lot of people rely on this just to see if people are active on their computer. What's a normal or sort of average range for mouse to keyboard activity? Where do you see those at?
Yep. So it really depends on the job type. Data analysts, for example, are going to be much higher. Some folks might be in 70 or 80% range for most of the day. But the average, which it's funny, it's when you look at almost all organizations on average across different roles, it tends to be about 50%. So activity is generally around 50%. And that just means, about 50% of the time they're moving their mouse or keyboard, and 50% of the time they're not. And that's completely fine. If you're reading something or thinking or whatever it is, like you don't need to always be moving. And I recommend, not forcing people to be higher than that percentage activity, but it tends to average out around 50% activity.
Yep. Okay, we'll do maybe one last one and then switch gears. Can Hubstaff flag? So I think you showed, Jeff, just one of the cases of unusual activity, but they're asking about can we catch if they're using an app to actually like fake the activity? And what does that look like?
Yep, absolutely. So as long as you have app and URL tracking on, you can actually see, all the apps that they're running for that day, and you can see that throughout the site. But we have, like I mentioned, hundreds of suspicious applications that we know about. Of course, there's always going to be more or people creating new ones. That's partially why we have unusual activity in general to see, to flag, hey, this person had, 100% activity for 3 hours. We didn't detect an app for this case, but it's very unusual. You should probably go check it out. It's a good chance that they are using an app. But we do have hundreds of apps that we do check for, and we can see them running on the computer. And as soon as we see them running, we'll flag it as unusual activity and send an email immediately to the owner and manager.
Nice. Okay, that's the question. There's more in there. If we didn't get to answer your question, we will answer it in the chat here. But we're going to keep moving now, and I think see
Awesome.
what Gabe's got for us. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, Gabe,
absolutely.
go ahead and take it away.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you both. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Gabriel Ayala. I'm part of the success team here at Hubstaff. And yeah, as Aubrey mentioned at the start, I'll be showing you some tips and tricks on the dashboard, particularly from a manager and admin perspective. I noticed that some of you have been here for years, others are fairly new. So this is just good stuff to know what to do in terms of the dashboard. So I'll be taking you through a couple different features. I want to start off with Insights, show you one thing there. I'm going to take you through the Teams functionality, why I think that's very beneficial from a management point of view. And then I'm going to recommend 3 different reports. And I know Cody is going to be posting a poll here for reporting specifically. We're really interested to hear how much you guys, what you're using and how you're using the reports. And then at the end, I'm very excited to announce 2 brand new features that are basically done and we're very excited about. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay. And then here we go. So as mentioned, the very first thing I wanted to tackle was, well, on the subject of insights, while we're still there, I wanted to show you how you can go ahead and classify your apps and URLs via a job type so you can get a little bit more accurate data out of insights. If you're on your people members page, and I'll just go to any member here, so the very first one, Andy, it's going to take me to his info tab where I can add information of the person, but I want to go to employment, and we're going to be looking at this second field from the top here, so the job type. I have Andy here as a customer support rep job type, but you have the flexibility to choose whatever job type is compatible to that user. And this is all based on the industry that you've set up for your organization. So these are predetermined based on what industry you chose. But the end game of what I want to show here is if you then go to your Insights settings page when you're doing your classification of applications and URLs, you can then go into a specific job type. So I'll go to that customer support job type, for example, and then I will classify my apps and URLs according to that job type. And then you can do it for all of them. And then that'll just give you more bang for your buck in terms of accuracy within Insights. Highly recommended. And then on top of that, before I move away from that, if you have a large head count, you probably don't want to do that one by one because that could be very frustrating and tedious. So I want to mention that we do have a batch actions importer, right? So if you go back to your members page, you hit import to bulk update, hit update all members. The job type field is going to be this second one from the top in the employment info box. You download the template, you just follow the instructions, upload the file, and you're good to go. So the next thing I wanted to tackle was the Teams functionality that I mentioned earlier. And really the Teams functionality in Hubstaff is going to give you 3 main benefits from a management point of view. It's going to make your lives easier in terms of bulk updating people, in terms of assigning them projects. Remember, Hubstaff is based around what projects you assign your staff. So depending on what that is, that's what they can track time towards. I created this template success team here on this account. I got these 4 members assigned to the team. I got Annie here as the team lead, but I have no projects. But if I wanted to, I could come in here, I can assign them the success project, and these 2 other projects. And then boom, all those members automatically were just assigned those projects. I don't have to go to the member profile individually and assign the project separately. I don't have to go to the project tab and look for the members within the project to assign. I can just do it all within the project. So that's benefit number one. Benefit number two that I think teams really give you is the ability to filter within reports. So if I switch to a report here, and this happens on pretty much all our reports, if you then go to the big blue filters button, this menu is going to come up, and I now have a team filter. So I can select, if I just only want to see data for that success team that I just built, I can do that. So I'm only seeing data for that team, and that obviously gives you quite a huge benefit there when you're looking at data and you only need specific data points on specific people. And the third benefit, and this is one of the best things I think in terms of the team functionality, is the team lead flexibility in terms of permissions. What do you want the team lead to be able to do in this case? So Annie here again is in charge of these 4 people and now on these projects. But let's say I only want Annie to be able to approve time off and approve timesheets and nothing else. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do there. And you get the idea. You'll be able to specify exactly what you want each individual team lead to do per team. And before I move away completely from teams, I do want to also mention that we now have, if you go to settings, all settings, we now have a permission tab. If you go to team permissions, we have a new global setting in terms of team lead visibility. So if you want complete restriction on your team leads only being able to see their team members and nothing else, regardless of projects, you would want to have this global toggle off, and that's exactly what it would do. Right now I have it enabled, and that's just how Hubstaff has worked throughout its history. But if you have this off, essentially you're just restricting the visibility just to the team leads, and for the team leads just for their team. Okay, so moving on to reports. The reports that I would definitely like to recommend today are 3 different ones. So the first report that I'd like to recommend is the weekly report. I just think it's the cleanest in terms of if you're just looking for total hours. I just want a report of my staff, how many total hours they tracked for the week in a very clean fashion format. It's just your members on the left-hand side and each day of the week broken down, depending on what range of frequency that you've selected in the date range selector, right? Right now, I just have it set to last week. But as you can see, if I scroll to the right, I can see the total hours. If you're using our overtime policies, if you're using our time off policies, you can have that on. You can toggle whatever you don't need off as well. So if I don't care about time off, I can toggle that off. But it's just a very clean report, in my opinion. One of the best reports that I think we have, and I think all of you are quite familiar with this report, as it's definitely the most flexible. So I couldn't go through today without mentioning the time and activity report. It is exactly that. It's the most flexible. So we have the most group by options. This is the best report in terms of just looking at overall time, overall activity average, idle time, notes, tasks, basically everything that we have, you can probably find it in this report. It has the most columns that you can work with as well. So if I wanted to add idle time percentage and idle time duration, I could add that. If I go up to the top and I want maybe a cleaner report to just kind of collapse everything to just give me totals, I can sum the date ranges and it'll give me that. Another benefit of using teams, we have a group by via team now within this report as well, which is quite helpful because now I can just see all the information on the marketing team, for example, something like that. And then the third report that I really think is really beneficial from an admin point of view is work sessions. So if you go to all reports and you go to the general section, should be that very one from the right from underneath general, which is work sessions. This is basically the timesheet view and edit page where you go to see timestamps, but just in a report form. So this is going to give you exact timestamps per day, per member, per project. You can group it by different things and add different columns like you can on the other reports. We have full filters, but basically if you are looking for when people clock in, when they clock out, every time they start and stop timers, this is the report for that. And I definitely want to share as well, all our reports for the most part have export options, so either in a CSV or a PDF format. And also I definitely wanted to share this. If you haven't used this already, you really should. I know everyone here, you all manage your time, but you probably can't be on Hubstaff all day, every day, and we don't expect you to either. So we want to help you automate some of these things. If you hit on schedule report right here, and this is found on basically all our reports, you can email this report to your email. So you just pop in your email here at the top, you choose whatever format you'd like, name it what you want. But the important bits are this. So you can set it up on a frequency. A typical example that I see on when I'm speaking with customers, they want a daily report on the just for the daily totals, Monday through Friday. And then I always just recommend, okay, do yesterday's data. What did everyone track yesterday? And they know for a fact that depending on what delivery time they set, they're going to receive a report in whatever format they've established of that information. So this is just very helpful, helps you automate some of this stuff. Okay, and now pivoting towards, I'll be covering the next two features very briefly, but we are very excited for these new items that are being either rolled out or just being finalized by the product team. But if I navigate to the project management tool tab, we have our projects list. And if I go to any project and I go to budget and limits, we now have this member limits option. This is basically if you want to set a cap on the amount of time people can track per project, you can now do that with this function. So I won't get into more detail on that, but it should be rolling out as we speak. So please feel free to play around with it. We're very excited. And then one of the other items that I know for a fact has been requested for forever is our manual time submission and approval system. So we finally have been working and to finalize this feature, but basically it's almost ready and it's going to live in the UI whenever your members need a timesheet adjustment for whatever reason. Hey, I forgot to start my timer or whatever it might be. They now submit the request. Your users, your managers receive the notification. They deny it or approve it, and then they go off and make the change. And you can now keep track of all that information directly from the UI. So we're very excited for that one and very curious to hear feedback on it for sure. And I think that's kind of it for me, Aubrey. And any questions?
Awesome. Thanks, Gabe. Yeah, let's look at the results of the poll and then do another couple of questions.
Yeah. Okay. I just shared the results. So the poll is interesting looking at reporting. In the last few minutes we got here, a lot of people, looking for abnormalities, and then a lot of payment stuff, right? Payroll, documentation, and the payments questions also came up a bit. Gabe, maybe you would just want to talk for a quick sec about somebody who's asking sort of best practices, how to set up payments, pay rates for their team, and how to pay them the easiest with Hubstaff.
Certainly. Yeah, those are fantastic questions. Let me share my screen real quick again so I can just demonstrate this very quickly. But for payments, we definitely have a full payroll system. And the very first step that I recommend is to set up your pay rates for your folks. So if you're an account owner, or we also have the ability for you to set an account manager with financial visibility and permissions. So either one, but you would just need to navigate to this payment column, and then here you can set up different pay rates and bill rates. So pay rates is going to be what you essentially pay them. It can be a fixed salary or it can be an hourly rate, whatever you'd like. We also have a full, what I would recommend is our approval system for timesheets. So if you want to keep track of a specific pay period, we have the standard pay period, so monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, twice per month, whatever you need. But basically, if you navigate here, your members now with an established pay rate, they can submit their timesheet at the end of the pay period. You as managers review it, you approve it, and then if you integrate with any of our payment gateways, such as Wise, which we absolutely have, you can then pay them out directly through Wise. So that would be essentially what I would recommend on that.
Nice.
Any other questions? Good.
Yeah, we might do an official end here if people need to jump off, and then we'll stick around for another 10 minutes. So I'll just kind of quickly, thanks for joining, everyone. We had really good participation, lots of great questions. And if your question wasn't answered and you have time, feel free to stick around. But we will be sending this recording out, so you'll be getting that watched to your email in the next day or two. And so if you have to jump off, no problem. We're right about the end of the meeting here. And thanks for joining, and thanks for our panelists and everyone answering the questions, doing the presentation. You can drop a virtual clap for them, round of applause. And if you have to leave, no problem. And if you can stick around, I'll kind of pass the mic back to Cody to answer a few more questions.